Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for another one of my guitar blogs. It's April 10th, 2016. This week we're going to do a lesson on the Phrygian Dominant Pentatonic Scale. And this week's question was sent in from Todd. He's out in Pennellville, New York, and he wrote in with this email. Can you make a lesson that covers a pentatonic scale based on the Phrygian Dominant Mode? I was reading about it in a discussion forum on the scales of altered chords, but there wasn't anyone on the forum willing to post examples of the sound of it. The scale has the degrees 1, flat 2, 3, flat 6, and flat 7. Any discussion from you of how this scale could sound would be really amazing. From Todd in Pennellville, New York, USA. Okay, thanks a lot for writing in, Todd. The world of altered pentatonic scales is kind of an unknown region for a lot of players, but it's one that can offer up a lot of really cool sounds. Probably not great for the beginners and intermediate players out there, but if you've already got some decent skill level with the basic scales of major and minor, and you know your modes a little bit, and you've gone through some of your arpeggios, and you certainly know your pentatonic of major and minor, you're going to get something out of this at least. And even though it's kind of odd as a sound, at the same time it can be kind of an interesting sound. A lot of players will use it, but they're going to be probably more in the jazz fusion direction. And you know, I got to say that out of all the advanced jazz players and so forth that I've met over the years, you know, all the big fans of Spyro Gyra and maybe Scott Henderson and guys like that, the people that are using that sound, they are usually gravitating to a certain type of scale, and that's going to be sort of their favorite type. They'll gravitate to maybe a few patterns and focus on those ones, and you'll find that with Robin Ford and the way he plays, and a lot of other players. I don't want to just start pigeonholing specific players. You could start talking about Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock and all these guys, but they gravitate into a certain sound and a certain couple patterns, and that's really what they focus a lot of their attention on. Now, the Phrygian Dominant as a pentatonic scale is very common to what happens inside of the more common pentatonic of dominant flat 9. That's going to be pretty much the same pattern, except the dominant flat 9 pentatonic has a perfect fifth in it, but the Phrygian Dominant pentatonic will have a minor sixth replacing the perfect fifth. So anyway, what I'm going to do in this lesson, it's going to be kind of a different lesson. I'm going to review the scale pattern for you on the guitar fingerboard, help you to hear its sound. And then I've got a short melody that I'm going to basically take that scale and put it in some kind of context for you. So let's zoom in on the neck and get started. Well, in getting started, let's run through the scale tones of the Phrygian Dominant Pentatonic and organize an outline on the fingerboard here for the guitar neck layout. Now, the scale is going to be a mix of tones from dominant 7th arpeggio and the major pentatonic, the main difference being that we're going to have a lowered 2nd and a lowered 6th degree. The scale tone outline I'm going to demonstrate is going to be built from the 6th string root, and for the demonstrations of the pattern, and then later for the melody, I'm going to be using the root of A. So first of all, let's get through this scale, give you a chance to hear how this thing sounds. It goes like this. So it's a really interesting sound. If you were to play a open 5th string and then go through some of the tones of the scale, building a dominant 7th flat 9 chord, that's really going to give you a nice color to mess around with. You could even go and create a loop on a loop pedal, and just play that one chord. Maybe come up with a vamp on it, record something like that on a loop, and then just start messing around with the scale itself. Now, the specific tones in the scale are going to be the A root, of course. We have that flat 2, so we're going to call that one B flat. And then we're also going to have that major 3rd tone, which colors it up for the dominant color, so that's going to be a C sharp. Now, the really unique tone in there, of course, is that flat 6. That's going to be an F natural. And then we also have the flat 7, the G natural as well. It's a bit of a stretch, when you're making up to that F tone there. It's a double whole step reach, so a little bit of a stretch there for you to tackle that one. But you know, the upper extension of the scale there, when you move past the first octave of the A on the 4th string 7th fret, it's not too bad at all. You know, you've got these tones that are kind of right in a row there. So you come up with some pretty cool sounds like that. So that's the basic generalization of it on the fingerboard. You know, definitely take the tones from the A Phrygian Dominant Pentatonic and relocate it. You know, come up with some other patterns along the neck, find some other segments that you can work with. Maybe take that chord that I was talking about. You can just take an open A string. There's your G tone. Here's the B flat, and then here's the C sharp. And that can generate a nice sound for you. That's the dominant 7 flat 9 sound. So you can have that in the background, make a vamp, and maybe come up with some cool ideas working with that. Also, right within there, when you're dealing with the G root, you've got a little portion of a G minor 7 flat 5 that you can grab at as well. So I mean, there's going to be chords like that, little sort of, you know, outside sounding chords. It's not going to, you know, a lot of times people will use that shape in conjunction with a low root, you know, because if you put the E flat down below, you'd have an E flat dominant 9. But of course, the E flat, it's not part of this scale. So, you know, you could try and mess around with it a little bit. It's not really going to be a fantastic sound because the E flat winds up being a flat 5 in there. So, outside, really getting outside there with that one. But experiment, go crazy, and you know, come up with some pretty cool ideas, and maybe start making some loops and some practice jams. Eventually the scale pattern and the concepts of the sound will start becoming more and more familiar to you. But what I want to do next is take a short break, come back in a moment, and I want to start working on a melody that I have for you to mess around with as well. So let's do that next. Well, next let's work on creating a melodic idea that applies this very unique sound of the Phrygian Dominant Pentatonic. But first I should really mention that most guitar students will often have a lot of problems when they're trying to apply this scale, or any kind of scale like this one, you know, the real altered pentatonics. They have a limited note relationships to the basic major or minor scales, and also the color of these unique altered pentatonic ideas. They don't really offer us any kind of direct link to common harmony. This means that most of the popular chord progressions we find in modern music, they don't work all too well against these altered pentatonic concepts. So we wind up, you know, inventing unique sounding chord progressions, unique kinds of rhythmic ideas to fit in behind these melodies. So keep that in mind. And with that brief disclaimer out of the way, I'm going to just run through the melody now that I created out of A Phrygian Dominant. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. All right, so it's a really interesting sound. Has some really cool colors to it. I'm just going to work it through with you. It comes in, as you notice when I count it in, it comes on the upbeat of 3. So you're counting in 1, 2, 3. Has those pickup notes, and then we're moving through the upper part of that pentatonic, heading towards that quarter note. But then we have those 6th fret 3rd string tones come in, and then we're heading more to the middle of the scale. And that's just, you know, working through a sequence of the scale pattern there. And then we're going to do some repetitive lick here where we're going to go 7 and 8 on 4th string and then up into that C sharp tone. So we're kind of using the root and the flat 2 and the major 3rd, heading down into that flat 7. So that's kind of a neat lick there. And then we also move down a little bit outside, so I'm working through another pattern. I know I showed the one in the sort of 5th fret region there, but I'm kind of heading a little bit outside of that. I'm grabbing into the B flat, taking that G. So I've got that flat 2 tone, I've got the flat 7 tone, and then I'm moving forward into the major 3rd. So the slide there. And then heading A and B flat again, and then jumping over the 3rd string to the 2nd string. And then I'm going forward from there. Now you can decide how you want to do the move forward. You know, you could grab into 8 and slide with your 3rd finger. You could change it up a bit. I don't know. I kind of, you know, I wrote the melody and then I kind of change it every time I play it. But It's coming around up those tones just through the scale. We're getting the F, we're getting the G, then we're also getting that root of A, and then the B flat, taking us back down into the A again, and then we're just basically going to do a repeat at that point. So those are the two segments of the melody. Work on them a little bit, try and get them into your playing. The rhythms aren't too bad. I mean, it's mainly just eighth notes and quarter notes, so there's some ties in there. We're losing some downbeats and all that, but overall, it's not too crazy. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to get this melody in the loop pedal. I'm going to just quickly discuss a little bit of what's happening with some chord changes that you could do underneath this thing. Well, you know, these melodic lines that can be generated from this scale, they're definitely unique. And just as the melodies will sound very particular with this scale, the same kind of thing applies to the options that we have for the chords. And whenever, you know, we're dealing with any musical sound that's very diverse, we can have a lot of choices when it comes to the harmonies played behind them. So in wrapping up, I'm going to take the video out by playing the melody back for you. I've got it in the loop pedal right now. And I'm going to play my example of some chord changes I came up with for playing over top and give you a chance to hear what that sounds like against this melody. Now, it's going to be some unique chord ideas, and there's also going to be a very unique rhythmic groove that's going to go along with that. Just to run the chords down, though, it's going to be a G minor 7 flat 5. We're going to have a version of A dominant 7th, heading into A triad, which is going to introduce an E natural into the mix, but it's not really going to clash with anything. It's just a perfect fifth off of our root, so it should be just fine. We're going to head back after that to a minor 7 flat 5 off G again, and then I'm going to turn the progression around with a B minor with F in the bass, and I'm going to also come back around again to another A dominant 7th. So here's how it all sounds, and I hope you have good luck with this and have a lot of fun with it too. Well, you know, when we play scales that are popular, you know, the basic major and the basic minor and all the basic pentatonics that we know, you know, we have a lot of ingrained references for what type of sounds can be pulled out of these very common and very popular scale ideas. However, you know, when we start dealing with something more unique, like any kind of altered dominant sound, we need to start thinking more outside of the mainstream sounds of music. And this is where, for me personally, you know, all kinds of jazz fusion types of groups really come into play and give me a lot of great ideas. Bands like Travel Tech with Scott Henderson and Spyro Gyra, as well as Joe Zawinul and Miles Davis, just, you know, to name a few there. There's lots of guys doing this sound, but they're all using very interesting ideas with these altered sounds that definitely have helped me personally with applying these very unique altered concepts in my own playing. So, you know, have fun jamming on this Phrygian Dominant Pentatonic here, and, you know, maybe post any ideas that you have in the comments section. If you want to post some lines that you came up with, you know, maybe you can shoot them with your webcam and let me know. You know, post them in the comments below, and I'll definitely link to them off Facebook and Twitter. But, you know, have fun with this. It's an interesting sound, and if you spend a little bit of time messing around with it, you're going to come up with some cool ideas for sure. Anyhow, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, want to say thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and if at all possible, consider a small donation to help with the guitar lessons project here. It's an entirely self-funded thing that we're doing online, so any help is greatly appreciated. Otherwise, have yourself a really great week, and I will catch up with you next time. Bye for now. If you'd like to learn the modes and really get an understanding how they can be used musically to write songs, play a solo, or compose melody lines, then you're in luck. My ebook, Using the Major Scale Modes, is a comprehensive manuscript outlining exactly how modes are used both in harmony and to compose melodic ideas. Over 50 pages of scale patterns, example progressions, and music theory all create one of the most comprehensive methods on the modes available. Using the major scale modes is available for instant download in the View Our Products area at creativeguitarstudio.com.